So this is in response to a video by Tim Pool. It's apparently episode 180 where he's talking about aliens. Um, there's a belief that there is some sort of an agreement between the U.S. and extraterrestrials. Now, I'm going to tell you, when I was a kid, there were emails going around that say, oh, this is about an alien that's in U.S. custody, and these are different interactions people had. And when I read it, I thought, oh, this is not serious. You can't prove this. I thought it was curious. Then as I got older, I was like, no, this stuff is actually real. A lot of it is real. However, I'm going to talk about these contracts. The extraterrestrials predated the U.S. government. You don't sign an agreement with them. You do what they tell you to do. That's the way it is. Um, they predated us. They were here before the U.S. government was here. They are worldwide. The U.S. has no say. They just want to make it sound like the U.S. has an agreement with them. It's like you having an agreement with a 2-year-old child. The 2-year-old child has no clue that they have no say in anything. And then they say things like, oh, well, we're going to help you. They're not here to help us. They're here for us to do what they want us to do. And then they'll say things like, Tim is reading, he says, oh, we need to help each other so they can understand the universe. That's not what they want to do. They want to control people. They want who they want to be the winner, and they want who they want to be the loser. You understand what I mean? I don't know why they're doing it, but that's what they're doing. They play favorites in the same way as your parents do. Like if your parents have 3 kids, they favor one child over another. The extraterrestrials are essentially doing the same thing. If you disobey them, it's a non-negotiation policy. You do what they tell you to do, and that is it. If you don't do what they tell you to do, then they will get rid of you. That's the way it is. It's not a voluntary relationship. They obviously want something from us, and I don't know what it is. I'm going to tell you what I think it is. Based on reading prophecy, I'm going to refer to American Indian prophecy. I believe it was the Mohawk, the Seneca, from the Iroquois area. Their prophecy is that they met star brothers, which are obviously aliens, who told them that the white man would come to the U.S., and if they came with a handshake and a smile, they would build a great nation. And if they came with a weapon, they would exploit the resources. The Spanish came with the weapons to exploit resources. The English came with the handshake and a smile. So they said we will build a great nation, which happened. But then the communists would eventually come. They said we would go to war with the dragon, which is obviously China, and the Russians, but the war would actually be with China, but the Russians would be involved in some way. They describe the Russians as the ones who give the technology to the Chinese, which is true. A lot of Chinese technology did come from Russia. So they say that we would go to war and we would defeat them. And maybe that's what's going on right now. I don't know. But they say that it would be a large struggle, but we would eventually defeat China. And there would be a biological weapon. I'm not talking about a fake biological weapon. I'm talking about a real biological weapon. And the reason why I will get to. It would be a biological weapon, kills 99% of the population. The only people that survive are the people on all the remote islands or in remote places. They survive, they rebuild society, civilization. At that point, extraterrestrials come, land on Earth, live among us. And they say, of course, together in peace and harmony. No. And I'm going to explain to you why. I thought a lot of time about this. Question number 1. Why do you wait until after humanity is 99% destroyed by biological warfare before you come live among us in harmony? Why don't you come right now? You're going to come after the war. Doesn't make any sense. Come now. Because they don't want to live among us in harmony. Number 2, why a biological weapon? Why not a nuclear weapon? Nuclear weapons destroy everything, destroy the planet, make the planet uninhabitable. Biological weapons kill people, but other than that, leave all the buildings in place, Technology is still there. Chemical weapons actually are kind of nasty. A chemical weapon, you don't want chemical weapons. Chemical weapons destroy a lot of stuff. You don't want everything to be toxic. Biological weapon, whatever the weapon is, eventually it will die. Either the people will die or the virus will die. Viruses don't live forever. You know, out in the sun, it destroys the virus under heat and other conditions. The virus will not last. So, you know, it's weird that they're going to come here when the population is next to nothing. All the buildings are going to be intact. Um, One of the things that they told me, this is what the aliens told me. They said that Earth has resources, which it does, and the resources are people, and that they will come someday like a swarm of locusts that need to feed their children, is what they told me. And they will just come and devour everything. I don't know if it's true, doesn't make sense, but that's what they said. But they said that it would happen far in the future, not now. So, or maybe they were using it in a reference to something else like China wants to devour all the resources because they have to feed their children. I don't know. But if you look at the Seneca prophecy, the Mohawk prophecy, you'll see where it says that the Star Brothers would come, there would be a biological war, and most people will die, and then they will live amongst us. They didn't. How do you think the Indians come up with this? They come up with this because an alien told them. That's what happened. And they lie to everybody. Like, women see angels, or they have dreams about angels, and men have dreams about aliens. And the American Indians had dreams about animals, spirit animals. You know, why do they paint a different picture to every person? That's manipulative. That's not truth. That means that what you are seeing is not who in fact they are. They're not showing who they in fact are. I've asked them to show me what they look like, and I've seen. And it is similar to some of the depictions made in the media. You know, like a petite gray person with a bodysuit. They don't have good intentions. They don't care about us. They do what they want to do, not what we want to do. If you want something, they could care less. They decide what they do and all of that. But the problem with that, you know, it's no big deal. It's independence. But the problem is, what if they're screwing with people? What if you have something that they want somebody else to have? They take it away from you and they give it to somebody else, even if you acquired it fairly. That's where the problem comes in. That's what they are hiding. There was a story from the 1950s. A guy wrote science fiction. A lot of this stuff comes from them. Like, what they do is they find a writer because the writer is going to write science fiction. They want to talk to the guy because they want to get their story out. It's like their media source. And what he wrote about, he said that aliens invented a technology to allow humans to live a virtual experience. I don't remember who the author was. I read it. I should have saved it. That's a dream, is what it is. I've fallen into trances before. Trust me, it's really scary to fall into a trance. It's like dreaming, and it looks completely real. And then you wake up and you're in bed. And it's like really weird because you feel like your body was just under someone else's control. It happened to me twice. It was really scary. And they have the technology to do it. Number two, in this science fiction work, like one of the characters meets aliens and the aliens are talking to him. Number two was, it is not mankind's destiny to explore the universe, was the second thing. I don't know if there's someone who's an expert in sci-fi and you know who this author is. I believe he genuinely was being coached by extraterrestrials for the same thing that they told me. They told me the universe has already been explored. That's what they said. And they're the dominant species. And I know that they do the virtual experience. It's in the form of dreams. You know how I know? Because before I knew what was going on, I knew something was going on. I had a dream where I was saying something out loud. And when I woke up, I said, that's weird. I had a dream where I was saying something that I said earlier that day, just in a different setting. So then when I went to sleep, I spoke out loud. I said, how is it that humans have dreams? And then, like 2 nights later, I had a dream explaining to me how humans had dreams. I had a few dreams about it. And like I said, one of them was that every night they bring an orb and they place it above the crown of my head and it transmits the dream to me. Not true. Not exactly what happens. They do it remotely with a beam. There's no orb near your head, etc. Second of all, they showed me puzzle pieces. And they say the problem is they're trying to tell a story, but some of the pieces are missing. So how do you tell a story if some of the pieces are missing? And it's like if you have a dream, well, what if you want to explain something to someone, but that person doesn't have an understanding of something? Like I'll use the example of a self-driving car. We understand self-driving cars now, but 10 years ago, nobody had any idea. I mean, we had heard about it, but we didn't understand the technology like you do now with the LiDAR and the 3D world and all that. Now it's a reality. They actually have the ability to do this. So if you had to tell someone 20 or 30 years ago, oh yeah, take your driving car out for a spin, your self-driving car in the form of a dream, how do you explain that to somebody? Now it's easy. You show them a Tesla, no hands on the wheel and it's driving, you understand it immediately. If it were back then, maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you'd be like, why am I not holding the wheel? Is the car going to be in an accident, etc. So there may have been a few other dreams where they were explaining to me about how people have dreams, but I don't remember what they were. What I'm going to tell you is I wish I had never met these people. They are horrible people. They could give a damn about humans. They treat us like garbage. I know a lot of people that are psychic. At the time, I believed that they were psychic. Now I know they're not psychic. They're just being communicated to by extraterrestrials. These people, one thing about being psychic is they will believe anything. They were often, the things that they told me, I was thinking this is not true. I'm going to use the example. I'm running out of time here. They would say, burn a purple candle. And I was like, why would burning a purple candle do anything to help anybody? You know that there's people, if you're in this spiritual new age crap, you know that there's people that believe this. You could go on the internet, go on Google and search for burn a purple candle, and there's going to be people talking about it. Doesn't mean to burn a purple candle. It means to think, because purple is the color of the chakra associated with thinking. And chakras aren't real either. If you believe that they're real, or if you heard of them, they're fake. This is what they do, how they lie to people. When the woman told me to burn a purple candle, I immediately said, no, it can't be that. It's got to be the fire has to do with electricity, thought within the human body, and the color purple has to do with whatever chakra that is. Chakra is just an organ of the human body. And it's called a chakra because it uses more energy. The heart uses more energy than your middle finger. So that's why the chakra is in your heart. You understand what I mean? I'm going to tell you that their number one tactic is to just argue with everybody. And because I am analytical, it's all about, they keep saying emotion is everything, analytical is nothing. And they will argue that point until they die. No matter how many times you prove them wrong, they will never admit that they're wrong. And they always insist, no matter how dumb their arguments are, that emotion is everything and that's it. They're pretending to be like an emotional person, and it's like, I don't need this. I don't need this. And the stuff they tell me is often stuff that I already know, and it's been a huge waste of time. And they force themselves on people. Like, if you don't want to speak to them, tough, too bad. They outright told me that there's a cost involved with abducting people. And once you're abducted, that's it. You're abducted. They're not going to let you go. They pick easy targets. They don't pick people because they need help. They pick easy targets. People who are isolated, like a homeless person who has no family, no friends, etc. Okay, so I have to stop here, running out of time.